Welcome into the Bubble Boys post-game Gab Fest here on the Sun Solar
Woo-hoo!
Panel.
Sun's got to win.
Ahoy, hoy. I'm your host, Greg Esposito. Glad to have you with me. As always, Dave King is here. And then we've got a special guest, Gerald Bourguet, is with us today. Gerald, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. And you got the guns out. I always love that. Showing a little power and wearing the throwback Pistons jersey in honor of the NAZ Suns being sold to the Pistons. So see, it all ties together.
Is that the honor?
It all connects.
It all connects. So we got something exciting to talk about. Actual NBA basketball, and in particular the Phoenix Suns back in action today. Game 1 in the bubble in Orlando, and the Suns get a victory as they defeat the Wizards 125-112. Glad to have you with us here on the stream. And guys, initial reactions to this first win for the Suns. Gerald, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I thought the biggest thing for me was the Booker versus non-Booker minutes, especially in that first half. He was like a plus 25 for the first half, but as soon as he went out, it was like a 10-point swing just like that. Then we saw some of that in the second half. I thought they eventually pulled away, which is good. A young team needs to learn how to put away inferior teams, but that was kind of one of the main things that stood out to me is the bench is still going to need some work this offseason.
Well, they talked about it in the postgame. So in the postgame, Monty and Book and DA talked, and Booker was talking about that what they had to do was after they got the lead at the end of the first half, is they had to basically just keep regathering themselves in the second half to hold that lead. And he kept, and to their credit, they keep talking about getting stops over getting scores. So these are the opposite of Mike D'Antoni, however you say his name backwards. But yeah, it's good to hear the guys talk about it that way. Washington is just tough to defend. I mean, there's a reason for a lot of the season they were number 1 in offense and number 30 in defense, because they just want to run up and down the court as fast as they can, and you just got to keep up with them. And so luckily the Suns had more talent than they did today.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it comes down to this was a great game to play against the Wizards, and the kind of game that's going to get you punched in the face when you play a team like the Mavericks or somebody with something on the line. Kind of game that it's fine to ease into. They're lucky that they started with the worst team in the bubble in the Washington Wizards. In stretches, they looked fantastic, and in other stretches, they looked like they hadn't played basketball in 4 months, and that's really what this comes down to. And I think there's a lot of bubble rust for a lot of teams. I mean, we've seen some sloppy basketball in these scrimmage games and in moments throughout these first seeding games. So I'm okay with this in a first game from the Suns, but if they have this kind of uneven effort on Sunday, I think they're going to be in trouble.
Well, I tell you, they looked better in the scrimmages than they did today in this game against Washington. I thought they played the first half afraid to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it was very you could tell, like, Mikal Bridges was an all-star during those first 3 scrimmage games. A little bit quieter today. He did finish with 13 points, but you can tell that there was a difference between the scrimmages and these games. I think the Suns are a team that has come into this whole thing, even the scrimmages, with that mindset of, like, we need to make every single one of these games count, even if it's just a scrimmage. Yeah. Now it matters more, so now they're going to get better shots from these teams.
Well, they told themselves, oh, there's no way we can lose this first game. You just can't lose this first game and still call yourself a real team, because Washington was without Bradley Beal, obviously without John Wall for the whole year, and without Davis Bertans, who's sitting out to keep his health before free agency. And so that's their 3 best players. And there was really nobody left on this Washington team. Our SB Nation, our Bright Side of the Sun, one of our podcasts there, the Suns Jam guys, interviewed the deputy manager of the Wizards blog. And he said, I don't expect anything from this Washington team. They'll probably somehow win 2 games, but that's only because other teams will show up and not expect to be someone to play hard against them. But even the Wizards guys are saying there's barely any NBA players on this team. So, and look, Shabazz Napier, Ish Smith, Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, who was kind of a rookie who's not going to make any all rookie teams. That's your leaders. And Jerome Robinson, who was a number 15 pick 2 years ago, washed out of the Clippers and made 5 of 6 threes today for the Washington Wizards. So the Suns just had to not lose. And I felt like they spent the entire first half afraid to lose. And then they got that 15-point lead just because they actually have the NBA talent to do it.
Well, and how refreshing is that? Because over the last few years, we wouldn't be able to say that. There wasn't the NBA talent to actually win this kind of game, and they were able to rely on these guys that belong to be in the league to beat a team that just didn't have the horses. I mean, that's what this came down to. Washington, like you said, Dave, is not a good team. They do not have the players to go out there and try to jack stomp another team. They're going to have to win ugly. And luckily the Suns did enough to prevent that. I mean, and when you look at it, and let's get into a couple guys here, and we're going to start with Devin Booker, who winds up finishing with 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal in this game. At times, Devin felt pedestrian, but then he picked it up at other times, very much like the team overall. But we knew, I mean, we saw in those scrimmage games, Booker had a few games that were just okay. He did some things nice and didn't do other things great. But we knew when the lights turned on, you were going to get at least 25 from him. He winds up with 27 in this game. Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, and he had a little bit of trouble with some turnovers, especially, late in the game. Wizards got a little desperate, tried to up the defensive intensity a little bit, force some turnovers. But he really did have a good sense today, I thought, of when he needed to attack in particular. There was that 7-0 run the Wizards went on just to start the third quarter, cut the 15-point lead to 8 just like that, and then Booker drives to the basket and gets an and one. That's the kind of feel for the game that he is developing and has been developing for some time, but is really important for a young team that needs to follow his lead in these areas when they do build these kind of leads.
Yeah, you can tell Devin was watching the flow of the game the whole time. He was just observing the pace, and he stayed aggressive. He knew in the first quarter he really had to score to get this team going because they weren't really scoring. He was making some passes and they weren't converting. And so, I mean, in this whole time, let's be honest, the Suns had the lead almost the entire game. It's not a fact of whether they were worried about losing, badly. It's just that they were worried about getting it stolen from them. And Booker just had to make sure that they worked it until they got comfortable and got that lead. And I thought he did a very good job managing the game without taking it over. And that's really, really important. Devin Booker, if Devin Booker was just a stat stuffer, he'd have taken it over. You know who was a stat stuffer today was Ish Smith. I mean, has the dude ever taken that many shots in a game?
Yes, every time he plays the Suns.
Only against the Suns.
He took 18 shots. He led the Wizards with 18 shots. And,
well, who the heck else was supposed to shoot for them? I mean, literally,
other guys were
else.
supposed to shoot.
There's nobody else.
But good for Ish. Another freaking monster game against the Suns. I blame it all on Scott Howard. You guys know what I'm talking about, don't you? He wrote an epilogue, a postseason epilogue on Ish Smith. Maybe it's still during the season, but Ish had the absolute worst three-point shooting season in NBA history, and Scott Howard spent probably about 5,000 words when he used to contribute to Bright Side of the Sun. 5,000 words eloquently describing how bad of a shooting season that was in the history of the NBA. And ever since then, Ish Smith has kicked the Suns' ass. So I blame Scott Howard. At least 2 or 3 Suns wins over the last 6 years. It's all on you, Scott.
It is the most irrational Suns rivalry since Goran Dragic and Sasa Vujacic.
Well, that's the thing. So it has to be Scott Howard.
It's just, if that's his real name, I am highly suspicious.
Well, we know it's not his real name, but that's what he goes by on Twitter, and that's how people know him.
So let's move away from Devin.
It's the worst fake name ever. When people come up with fake names, they come up with really good fake names. He comes up with Scott Howard. I mean,
Scott Howard 42. It does not help that he added in
Scott Howard 42
as well.
made it look like a real name.
Let's move away from Devin Booker. Let's talk about Deandre Ayton. For me, and Dave, I think I saw you tweet this as well. It felt like DeAndre wasn't really in this game. And by the end, you look down, he has 24 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and he's 2 for 3 from 3-point land. And you go, oh, well, I guess DeAndre Ayton really did show up in this game.
And when Ayton was in the game, nobody was scoring at the basket unless it was on some kind of back cut or some kind of weird drive that, took Ayton away from the play. I mean, he's just good on defense. He talked about it after the game. He doesn't hunt for shots. Even though fans were thinking that as soon as he didn't get too many shots in that first half, he was disengaged. He's just like, I'm just playing in the flow. What happens, happens. And they found me when they needed to find me. I mean, and you see it at the bottom. It was an important win. Suns had to get that win. Nobody panicked. And DA was one of those that did not panic. I mean, the dude looks like he could use a little jump from the jumper cable sometimes, but he ended up with a really good game, even though he looked like he was kind of walking through it. Well, what do you think?
Hey, he fed off the crowd, right? And that was the problem. There was none. So
that's rough. Did you see the picture they showed? And it was of the Suns and Wizards fans, and they couldn't even fill out the virtual stands.
Yeah, what's up with that? How does your digital people not know enough to put fake bodies or duplicates? Like you could take a fan from seat 3 and put him in seat 17, and no one's going to know except that fan. Well, hey, there I am. Oh, there I am again.
The Suns had celebrities in there too. I believe you had Larry Fitzgerald and Rex Chapman as part of their live viewing, and they still couldn't fill the stands.
What's really funny is they did that for the Suns' one home game 2 days ago. Right? The one home game they had 2 days ago, and that all those seats were filled, and they were all happy fans, all being excited to play. The entire set of band was filled. So how do you not fill it for this regular season game?
Just throw the cheerleaders in there, the dance team, if you're gonna have empty seats.
I know, the gorilla and the employees. Oh no, they fired him all.
There's a lot. They could have at least put them in. That's why they had empty seats. They were let go on Monday, so they didn't have seat fillers. So
they were let go after that game that they filled the seats.
Oh, like, way to go, guys!
Shoot.
Not to bring down the mood or anything, and as the Suns moved to 1-0 in the bubble, but let's check in on the other big game that's going on here in the NBA for the Suns, and it looks like the Portland Trailblazers in overtime wind up defeating the Memphis Grizzlies 130-135. I don't know if this is good or bad.
Only 5 games out.
Yes, but is it good or bad? Because they have to jump Portland, and really all that matters is you wind up within 4 games of the the 8th seed and as the 9th seed. So is this a good or a bad thing? Would it have been better for Portland to lose so you gain ground on them rather than Memphis losing? What is it? What's the better play here if you're a Suns fan?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Greg. I think I would have preferred a Grizzlies loss or a Grizzlies win, because that's really all that matters. They're gonna have to beat whoever's in that 8 spot 2 times. So
yeah, but you got to get within 4 games.
You do. So you might as well make up. The focus should be on whoever's in 9, not whoever's in 8, because the Suns aren't going to get to 8. They're just not.
Yeah, and they were closer. They were closer to Portland in the standings than they were Memphis. And
Portland's got a 2 actual played game lead. So even if they, in this 8 games, they go 5-3, and 2 other teams go 5-3. Portland still kicks their butt because they had 2 more games played on the season. So the percentage-wise, because it's going to be on percentages.
Okay.
Yeah, they are going on win percentages. So Portland, if they and the 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th all go with the same exact record, and they were all with blah blah blah, same number of games out from Memphis, Portland would win on winning percentage and get that 9th seed. So Portland's in that driver's seat, and even more so today after winning this game against Memphis. But you know what? I'm good with the Suns just keeping this alive. I am good. If the Suns had, they'd still be a 6-game spread. I get what you're saying. I think San Antonio's gonna lose a lot. I think Sacramento's gonna lose a lot. The Suns are gonna be 9th or 10th or 11th, probably 10th or 11th by the time this is done, best case. And then we can just lament about that for the summer or the fall, I guess.
Rick, one of our new members of the Flaming Ballers in the YouTube group. That's the name of our YouTube supporters, Gerald, if you're wondering. We're weird.
The Flaming
We're weird
Ballers.
around here.
The Flaming Ballers.
The Flaming Ballers. That's where we're at. As I said, we're weird around here. But Rick in the chat says they need to jump Portland, Sacramento, and the Pelicans and be within 4 games of the Grizzlies. Thank you. That's what we were trying to explain. I hope I thought we got there, but maybe not. And then also Darth in the chat wanted to know, and here I'll bring it up here as we're talking.
Didn't the Pellies lose last night too?
They did. So the Suns
are juggernauts.
Well, this is it's a good situation. It's much better than sitting here at 0-1. We'll say that for it. All right. Still 7 games, and you got to win at least 6 of those 7, and some tough games coming up. But Darth in the chat wants to know thoughts on Monty's creative rotations today.
You know what? Hey, man, at least you know what? We didn't see Ellie. We did not see Ty, and we did not see Sheck. I'm good.
Did you see Ty Jerome and Gerald? I'll let you weigh in on the rotations, but the Suns put out a graphic showcasing all the terms that their players had decided to put on the back of their jerseys, and it also put their actual last names below it, which they aren't like in the jerseys. And Ty Jerome chose enough as his word, but because the Suns had put the name on the back, it said enough Jerome, and everybody just nodded their heads.
Well, I wonder if Ty got to pick that. Maybe he got assigned enough. All right, Gerald, before you talk about the rotations, I have to comment that one of our wonderful Flaming Ballers said, "Why does that dude look like Omri Caspi?"
Omri Caspi. I haven't gotten that one.
I know, but in this light, in this
Cantor, but not Omri Caspi. That's interesting.
Yeah, in this light with the jersey and the beard. Yeah, you do.
I don't know.
That's a look you're going for. Are you going for either Enes Kanter or Omri Caspi? Is that like?
I wasn't going for either one, but that's what I'm going to start putting on my dating profile. That's going to be my name now.
Omri Caspi, millionaire.
I'm an NBA player.
God. So your thoughts on rotations after we insult you with as a guest here?
It's fine. I'll be a millionaire.
Hey man, those guys are rich. That's right. Exactly.
But no, I thought they were good today. I also, like Dave, was totally fine with shortening up the rotation and the guys that didn't make the cut today as far as getting minutes. I thought Javon Carter was low-key pretty good in his minutes. I thought Cameron Payne was composed. He still has these flashes where he tries to do a little too much as that guy that's, clearly trying to play his way back into an NBA roster spot. But overall, I thought the rotation was fine. Obviously, it's not ideal without Baines and without Oubre. We're still going to have some of those crazy 3-guard lineups, those undersized lineups. But, against a team like Washington, you can get away with it. Now we'll see once the better teams start coming, whether that will continue.
Yeah, I was all right with it. I mean, Cameron Payne, obviously in Monty's mind, won the main backup point guard spot and played well today. I mean, he was hit or miss in the scrimmages, came out, played well today. And Gerald, to your point, Javon Carter did what he does. He's an irritant defensively, and he came up with some big steals, in particular in that fourth quarter, to help this team lock it down. So I like, at least from a backup point guard standpoint, that rotation. I like having Cam Payne being the main guy, having Javon coming in and helping and playing some backup too as well. I think that's going to be the recipe for success when it comes to those guard positions if you're going to have a chance to win. We didn't obviously see Aaron Baines. He's not played himself back into shape. No Oubre. So obviously rotations are a little different than what Monty would go with if he were at full strength. But I'm really interested to see what those rotations look like when Baines comes back. And if, because of the emergence of Saric, that Frank Kaminsky now winds up as the odd man out in the bigs.
Yeah, Sarge has been playing so well, hasn't he? I mean, I love the way Dario Saric has been playing. I'm happy for him. I hope he doesn't get too frustrated not being in the starting lineup. But you know what? Bench players make $10 to $20 million a year too. So I'm looking forward to Dario really embracing this being the playmaker on the second unit, because that lets them use his passing a little bit, lets them use his driving into the hoop and doing a little bully ball on smaller defenders. I'm really liking Dario in that second unit. Frank looks like he's really struggling right now. That doesn't mean he won't get it back. But man, has the dude made a three since January? I don't know, because he hasn't. He's played 3 scrimmage games in a regular season game. Did any of them go in? I don't think so. So I don't know. So Frank, for that reason, Frank is really struggling. But I don't trust Aaron Baines to make any of his threes either, because that dude, he hasn't been able to play at all until recently. And his 3-point shot, if you watch him practice those 3-point shots, Aaron Baines, his threes are all about legs, getting those legs right in there. He barely moves his arms at all. And his legs cannot be with him right now, especially if he's playing a few minutes before he tries to launch. So you're not going to see 37-point Aaron Baines, I don't think, in this Orlando series. It's just not going to last long enough.
You don't need that though. You just need him to hit a few of those spot up ones where Frank doesn't right now.
I don't even know if he'll hit those though. That's the thing. But he does play tough defense and he sets hard screens, and he might remind Deandre Ayton how to set a hard foul too.
I am impressed that Frank's literally trying anything to refine his shot, though. He came out with the same exact haircut as Devin Booker, and I thought, oh, that's a unique way to try to break your streak, is try to get the same hair as the guy that shoots the best on your team. That, or the barber shop at the NBA bubble has like 3 haircuts you can choose from, which might be the case as well. I don't know.
Do you think, Gerald? What do you think about Dario versus Frank versus Aaron Baines?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the way that Dario's been playing. And I really hope that he is okay with this 6-man role, because if he is, the Suns should very strongly look to bring him back how they can this summer. Because he's the kind of playmaker, secondary creator that second unit really needs. I love Cam Johnson, but he is better off in a starting lineup where he plays with better players who can feed him those open looks, and he can in turn space the floor for them. Dario is an okay 3-point shooter, and he hasn't been this year. So giving him that 6-man role would kind of empower him and make the starting unit better altogether. I think once Baines comes back, Kaminsky is either going to have to play a lot better to keep any kind of minutes, or he's going to get squeezed from the rotation as well. He just hasn't been good. Even when he's, pump faked and put the ball on the floor, which is something that Monty's praised him for, he's traveled, or he's taken just that awful shot that didn't even hit the rim today. It just flew into the backboard. That runner that he took down the lane. It's just stuff like that he's got to shake those things off now, because his minutes are going to get squeezed soon.
By the way, Coda Kid in the chat says we gave Frank too high of a grade. If you remember, we did grade him the highest on the team, but that was based on
what we did. We did off-season grades. Yeah. What we did is off-season grades during the dead 4 months, and it was grades based on our expectations, not based on the way they played. And Frank played so much better than our expectations, so he ended up with the highest grade on the team. So I guess we gave him too high of a grade. Sorry, Frank. We made your head too big, I guess, for your game. But having said all this negativity about Frank, I don't feel any negativity. I actually want him back next year. I just think right now he's really struggling.
Well, and to that point, Flaming Baller, Buck Dog says Frank will find his groove. Been off longer than anyone, and I think we forget that is. Yeah, he was injured, then didn't have rehab time, hops back in this, and is out there trying to do his best.
The day he was cleared medically is the day that the NBA shut down. He had been out since early January, and he'd been hurting since December. So dude hasn't felt this good since last year. I mean, so we'll give him some time.
Yeah,
till next year.
certainly. Yeah, I think at $5 million with the cap shrinking and it's a team option, it's almost a no-brainer to bring him back. And with the way Sarge is playing, try to find a role where Sarge can play that 6-man spot. And I think you might have a little something here, but we'll have to wait and see. There's still 7 games of actual basketball left, and the Suns have kept themselves relevant with the 125-112 win.
Hey, we got to talk about one more guy. Don't be wrapping up.
I'm not wrapping up. I'm just reminding people if they just tuned in. People, since it was a 1 p.m. game, there's a chance people just got off work and are tuning in or
we're going all
away.
night, man. We're here till midnight.
We're going until the next game. 24 hours.
This is
Gerald
Solar
didn't
TV.
know he signed up for that.
Yeah, this is Solar
Let's
TV.
talk about the G League team.
Once you're in, you're never. Once you're in, you're never out.
By the way,
it's
I do love
it's like Hotel California.
I love that Gerald looks like he's on one of those old-timey phones that you have to hold in front of your face. The ones that Dave started calling girls on.
Why aren't you holding the thing to your ear?
Well, see the mic. Oh, like this.
You gotta have the separate thing.
The mic comes with a stand, but the stand it's yay big, so it doesn't do anyone any good.
That's all right. Hey, we got to give some love to Cameron Payne today. So
yes,
the dude has been very up and down. He went 0 for 10 in the last scrimmage that the Suns played. They won the game, but he went 0 for 10 and he shot some air balls. But today, Cameron Payne looked very under control. He didn't take many shots. He didn't rack up the stats on the box score, but he was a plus 21 in the game. And the reason for that is he played some really good defense. I thought he played some really good defense. I saw him tracking guys. Nobody could stop Ish Smith with his water bug, jitterbug stuff today. Ish only stopped himself by making less than 40% of his shots. But Cam Payne played very well today, and I want to say that I'm glad he's on the team. We don't know what's going to happen Sunday, but today I'm really glad.
Fabio in the chat says Cam Payne, most improved player. So
game to game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Dave. Cam came to play, and I think it probably was Monty saying, just play within yourself. We don't need you to play hero ball. Come out, run the offense, keep that second unit calm, and that's all we need from you. And if you make some shots, great, but don't push too hard. And I think that's exactly what he did today.
Yeah, and that's one thing that he touched on when he first talked to us was that comfort level with Monty Williams from their time together at OKC. And that's huge for a guard who's been in the league for a couple of years but hasn't been able to work his way and keep himself in a NBA rotation. I mean, this is, coming to this bubble. Obviously, there was a lot of risk and concern about how it would pan out beforehand, but for him, it was a no-brainer because he's getting his chance to play again, and he's getting to do it for a coach that actually trusts him, and for a team with a backup point guard rotation, which, let's be frank, is not dependable in the slightest.
Hey, none of us can be Frank. Frank. All right.
How about Rubio too? I felt like 15 points, 9 assists. He kind of just played his game. It's the kind of Ricky Rubio that this team's going to need throughout these games. Again, another guy that's just running the offense, playing within himself, not trying to do much, and it's what the Suns have missed for so long in here. And he was that calming force again, where I think it could have gotten away from them at a few points, especially when I think it was early in the third, where the Wizards made that comeback. It could have gotten away with them, from them. But I think Ricky has been that guy all season, but especially today, that kind of helped them keep their cool.
Yeah, I don't know that Kelly Oubre, and look, I really miss Kelly Oubre because of his energy. Like you just talked about it. Ricky Rubio was low key, really good. Devin Booker, low key, really good. D8, low key, really good. They're all really even keeled emotionally, and they are helping the Suns a ton. Obviously, helped the Suns win this game. They were the 3 best players, I think, on the team today. But Cam Johnson, low key, really good. Mikal Bridges, low key, really good. I miss Kelly Oubre's energy, and I know because there's no fans in the stands, it's a little bit less impactful when in an empty gym he's doing push-ups off of getting fouled. But I miss Kelly Oubre's energy out there, and I really wish I don't know what's going on with his with his comfort level in his mind about his knee or what. But I kind of wish he would be out there because everyone we talked about today was low key really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Rubio's case, I'm
We don't
okay
want to
with
be
it.
the Spurs, man. Jesus
No.
Christ.
I mean, I would be okay with being the Spurs if they weren't the Spurs.
No, just
because-
attitude wise, not
oh,
not
you're
5
talking current
championships.
Spurs, not the Spurs that
Right. Let's
have
not be
been
the current Spurs.
killing
That's right.
us for years. No, I think with Rubio, he's the one guy that I'm okay when he has that low key really good game, because for him, that's just being composed. That's keeping people in their spots. That's just orchestrating the flow of the game and keeping a younger team, even keel. I thought he did a nice job. I think he got to the line 8 times today, made all 8. So those are big because, the first half, the Suns had a huge discrepancy in that department. And he was part of that. So, and he knocked down a 3 in the corner there near the end. And I thought he was, just imagine this Suns team with this point guard rotation playing without him. Like, him showing up to Orlando and being ready to go for these games was monumental.
Everybody was just,
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Ricky.
Yeah.
The Suns did it again today. I don't have the box right here, but they're back. Oh yeah, here we go. 29 assists on 42 made field goals. They led the league this year in assist rate, assists per game, all the assist related things, after years of being 29th and 30th and 28th in assist rate. Guess what they were the first 2 scrimmage games without Ricky? They were back down there at the bottom of the league in assist rate, because it doesn't matter. Devin Booker really helps, but he can't be your only guy who can pass on the team. He just can't be the only guy who gets assists. So all of a sudden in scrimmage 3, when Ricky was good again and healthy again, they were back up to 75% assist rate. This game, they're 75% assist rate. That's the Suns that we're used to seeing. And so people don't love Ricky because he doesn't shoot like Steph Curry and he doesn't have the emotions and all that, but he's low key really good.
But we get a question in the chat from Buck Dog. He wants to know, can Kelly choose to play whenever he wants, or is he waiting for clearance? What's going on here with Kelly that you guys have heard?
He's with the team, so he can choose. Go ahead,
Yep.
Gerald.
Last I remember from when we talked to him during media availability and the last time Monty actually provided an update, it sounded like it was more on the team as the reason that he's not playing on the training staff, because this could just all be, posturing, but he was saying, like, I'm practicing, like, I want to be back out there. But it's a decision that we have to make with the training staff to make sure that I'm 100%. He was saying, when I'm out there on the court, I want to give 100%. I can't do that yet. So it's partially him having not played, not worked his body back up, which is something everyone had to worry about with 4 months off, but especially with him coming off that injury and not having a proper normal rehab.
I don't think we know the story. I really, really don't. Because Monty has said, look, we don't want anyone to play who's not comfortable. The team's not comfortable and they're not comfortable, because that's what he talked about with Ricky Rubio as well, coming off of coronavirus, and Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines probably didn't play today because he wasn't 100% sure he was ready. So it is a mutual thing. And I was surprised when Kelly first, come on, this whole saga. First he says he's probably not going to play if they have a very slim chance of the playoffs. Then Sarver says, for sure he's going. And then he's like, well, maybe. And then he's like, but I want to be with the team the entire time. And then Monty's like, well, he's going to rehab, or James is like, he's going to rehab like everybody else. And when he's ready, he's ready. And then Monty said, he's rehabbing with everybody else. He looks great. He's got all of his bounce back. He had no pain, looks like old Kelly. And we're just going to wait and see till everyone's comfortable. And then Kelly comes out and says it's up to the team. And that's what you're referring to, Gerald, is he came out and he goes, it's up to the team to tell me when it's my time to play. But I tell you, the team is not saying we don't want Kelly Oubre to play. I don't see why the team would actually say that.
No, look,
it doesn't make sense.
I trust nothing coming from anybody when it comes out of this. This is the same team this week that said that they let almost 30 people go because they were strategically restructuring, and they're going to post new jobs soon. They were just letting people go because they've
been cutting costs forever. When you say strategically restructuring, Casey, shoot, what was his last name? Gosh, Taggets.
Yeah.
They were restructuring during the season too. They got a new guy, head of business operations. I don't recall his name. I got introduced to him at the beginning of training camp, like we all did, and seemed like a really great guy. And Casey said, "This is my new boss." And within a couple of months, they restructured down, and now they're restructuring again. That doesn't mean the Suns aren't cheap, because they are.
No, but
They've been cheap the whole time.
I just
They've been
don't
cheap
buy
the
it
whole freaking time.
because
What
then,
I'm pissed
then they tell
about.
us,
What I'm pissed about is that they did it during a pandemic when these people can't get another job easily. There's 45 million people out of work right now. That's what pisses me off. Not that they did a restructuring.
No,
People do that all the time. Don't do it now.
Well, and don't sugarcoat it. Just be honest. You're doing it because of financial things. Just like you don't sell a G League team because all of a sudden you decided it's brilliant basketball strategy to do so. And here's 5 bullet points as to why it's brilliant. And all of them were things that you should be doing anyways, whether you have a G League team or not. So that's what I have a problem with. And that's why I don't trust any of the why Kelly isn't playing. The truth is somewhere in between the lines on this stuff, and it very well could be Kelly doesn't want to play because he wants to save himself and make sure he's 100% because he doesn't want to injure himself with free agency coming up. There's a million reasons why it could be. I'm just saying what you hear, read between the lines. And I think we've all learned that in working in media is that sometimes you have to look at what's being told you, understand the source, and figure out that it's somewhere in between what's going on.
Right. And we can't forget that, their contract negotiations between Oubre and this organization were a little bit tenuous last year. Kelly wanted to be here, but they were kind of far apart, and they eventually had to settle on that short-term 2-year contract instead of, the 3 or 4-year deal that ideally could have. Yeah. Which I get that. I get that he's done a great job proving himself so far, but it could be free agency related. It could be the Suns don't want him to get hurt again. It could be Kelly doesn't want to get hurt again in a contract year. So there is a lot of reading between the lines. There's a lot of reasons to distrust an organization that restructured its own G League team to Detroit, but
restructured its own. Hey man, who needs the G League?
Well, everybody, we're here and we're at time here. We're about 40 minutes into this. We're going to just let you know, Suns again win 125-112. They moved to 1-0 in the Orlando bubble. That means hope is alive here in Phoenix. As we mentioned before, the Blazers beat the Grizzlies as well because we got a scoreboard watch now too. We haven't done that in years except for draft pick posturing. So scoreboard watching is back. Gerald, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Always a pleasure to have you. We will be back on Sunday after Sunday's game to talk more. At least Dave and I will. Who knows if Tim will show up? And Gerald, you always have an open invitation to join us.
Always open.
About 15, 20 minutes after the game on Sunday, we'll be back here to wrap it up. So for Gerald, for Dave, I'm Greg Esposito.
Oh, wait, really quick.
Oh, we've got more? What, Dave? What do we got?
Well, we got a great question. What are the keys to victory against Doncic and the Mavs? Stick McKell on Doncic, and then it's over. It's no big deal.
Well, that's
easy.
I think that's part of it. So hopefully we'll see another win on Sunday. I think it'll be much tougher. You're going to need a more even performance out of the Sun. Gerald, any thoughts on that before we get out of here?
Ayton and Doncic, that battle, Ayton's fared pretty well in that head-to-head so far. So Suns have played well against the Mavs for whatever reason. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
My prediction, Ayton has a higher 3-point percentage in that game than Doncic. That's my guess. So there you go. So for Dave, for Gerald, I'm Greg. Thanks for joining us here on the Bubble Boys post-game Gab Fest with the Sun Solar Panel. We'll be back on Sunday night.